PLI schemes, Viksit Bharat idea, which is largely, if I was to summarize it from my perspective, and you might have a different view of it from the World Bank perspective or the DC perspective, is this idea that let's build at least a stronger manufacturing base than we've had. Let's look at some of the tech driven sectors like electronics, manufacturing, semiconductors, etc., and build capabilities through subsidies there. And then let's get to what people are saying, developed economy by 2047. So I want to get your views on this set of things that's part of the economic policy mainstream in India, and tell me where you think maybe the focus areas are right and where maybe they might be misplaced.
So, I know that, for example, there's a lot of discussion about whether or not Viksit Bharat, which is developed economy status by the time of the 100th year of our independence, is a good thing. I think it's a very good way to think about it because it creates ambition and so on. So I think as a motivational device, it is excellent. So I'm actually very, very supportive of such things. By the way, other countries do the same thing. So it's not, India's not an outlier here. If you look at the plans of like China or Vietnam or others, so all these countries that are impatient, ambitious, and so on, they're out there. So I think one should have.
Do they also put per capita targets? Per capita GDP income targets also? Or is it always largely just the aggregate number?
It varies. I think the target should be per capita. I'll tell you why. Because as an international economist, people care much more about the size of India's GDP. So looking at it from the outside. But as an Indian citizen, I care much more about India's per capita income. Right? So I think leave it to foreigners to worry about the aggregates. I think that Indian policy should be ambitious about the per capita part. Okay. Now, there, I think, if you look at all of the all of the debate around the WDR and so on about the World Bank is wrong and this and that, I think it's a little misplaced because what we end up having there is we are saying, we have a model. It's a fairly mechanical model. You plug in numbers into it, growth rates that are realistic given the past. And then you say, when does India get to a per capita income level that is a quarter of that of the United States? Remember, the US per capita income is also expected to grow. So as a result of it, then you sort of say, that takes a long time given India's current growth rates. Okay, then you say, okay, well, India may actually not have these growth rates. It may have something higher than this. But then that's where comparisons with China and all start to matter. If you look at China's growth rates during China's 3 decades of massive growth, they are much higher than what India has ever achieved. Okay, much higher.
They were going into double digits almost. Yeah.
Yes, we're talking about 5%. They're talking about 10%. So then, if you say, all right, then if you sort of really want to, measure yourself by those metrics, be brutal about it and say, here's how it is. And then you start to sort of say, okay, then we need to radically change the way that we do and the kind of things that we're talking about. The kind of things, if you look at all of the education, a massive increase in female labor force participation, things like that, it can be done. It can be done, but it requires a massive amount.
Yeah.